I've analysed every Kai Havertz shot this season, all 76 of them. No other Arsenal player has taken more shots than Kai Havertz. But we've done the hard work and analysed every single shot to answer the question of how good is he actually? I mean, he's good. But is he good? We've broken his shots down into 3 simple categories, and we'll go through them one by one to analyse any potential weaknesses or strengths of his finishing. Outside of the box, inside the box, big chances. That's what we're breaking it down into, and we're going to kick off with outside the box shots. Now, Kai Havertz has taken 5 shots from outside the box in the Premier League this season. Now, interestingly, he's outperforming his expected goals from outside the box this season. But that's not as simple as it seems. Let's have a proper look at it. We begin with shot number 71. Havertz created the shot here with some really good striker play. He drops deep to receive the ball, finding quite an awkward pocket of space and actually dragging out the centre-back out of position, Tyrone Mings, whilst doing so. And the fact that nobody takes advantage of this space is not Havertz's fault. That's part of a deeper problem at Arsenal this year. So thanks to Havertz dropping back and playing that first time pass to Lewis Skelly, the ball is then able to be played forward to Merino in a promising space. Havertz then doesn't stop there. He follows up on this with a secondary movement forward. And because he's moving away from Tyrone Mings, number 5 here, Mings doesn't want to follow him. So it results in space for Havertz to receive the ball, space that he created with his initial movement. Meanwhile, there is still the opportunity to play a through ball into this space, but none of the Arsenal players have made that run. Without any passing options, Havertz decides to shoot. And when he shapes up to shoot, he knocks the ball a yard ahead of him, but that causes a minor problem. Firstly, the ball it's very central in correlation to his body. And secondly, it's slightly too ahead of him, meaning that he has to take 2 tiny strides to readjust himself to shoot. And with the distance and angle factored in, it means that Havertz needs to strike through the ball with enough power to send it past the goalkeeper. But to do this, he needs to strike the ball in the central part of the ball. That makes it a lot more difficult due to the ball being in an awkward position to do so, meaning he can only make contact with the side of the ball, which then leads to him dragging the shot wide. Could you get me shot number 5, please, guys? Thanks. But this shot from August showed some positive signs for Havertz. But the beginning of the move is all about Saka, who wins the aerial duel. But again, Havertz is proactive with his movement here. He gambles on Saka winning possession and begins making the move into the area. Van Hecke is now vacating to go and deal with Saka. By the time that Saka plays the ball, Havertz has an ocean of space to target. And crucially, a lot of time to think about his next move. Or does he? I mean, essentially, I've alluded to the fact there that it doesn't. And that's because it doesn't. Kai Havertz has often struggled when it comes to these types of situations where he has time to think about his decision and often maybe overthinks it a little bit. However, 2 things in this situation go in Kai Havertz's favour here. Firstly, he's orientated himself in a way that means the ball is on his left-hand side, meaning it's on his preferred foot. And then secondly, he doesn't actually have to make a decision on what type of finish to use because the bounce of the ball makes it for him. With the ball bouncing and the Brighton goalkeeper in no man's land by the time Kai Havertz meets the ball, it makes it ideal circumstances for Kai Havertz to use the side of his foot and simply lob the ball over into the back of the net, thus securing his only Premier League goal from outside the box this season. That's right, it's a simple and thus there are no fwa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pas from Kai Havertz from outside the box. Next up, inside the box, and a bit of a gear change to the video. My son's crying, but I'd like to get this video done, so we're going to carry on, but talk just a little bit more quietly. My ASMR gang of when he was first born will remember these videos and seem to enjoy them, so I will be talking slightly quieter. Let's start off with shot 57. Now, we've grouped these shots together because this could highlight, I think, a potential weakness in Havertz's game. However, it's a weakness that I think he can address. So Odegaard has the ball in the half space and you can clearly see Havertz is way offside. But you can also see that there is some space there to move into. Now, Havertz does really well here to recognise the space. But sadly, that's where the positives have to stop because it's how he shapes up his body coupled with the decisions he makes when he gets the ball that is the big problem for me here. So when your body shape is set like this, it means one thing for me. You've got your back to goal, so ideally you just want to lay it off to someone else who is facing the goal so that they can shoot. And this actually draws questions onto Odegaard in this instance. Because before we talk about Havertz, Odegaard's movement here is incorrect in my opinion. Instead of making the run into the channel like he ends up doing here, he plays the ball and then drives down this line. If we just go back for a second, you can see because of the body situation of Havertz, and I think Odegaard thinks he's just going to quickly turn and look to get that shot off Havertz. So to be fair to him, that's fine. But in hindsight, and it is 2020, what he could have done is pop it to him there, come back here, get the layoff, and he gets the shot himself. But I think Odegaard himself, his body weight is closed off and sort of driving that way anyway. So not huge problems here. The biggest problem here for me is Havertz' body shape. When the pass was played, he has to take a touch and then turn to be facing the goal. And all that first touch does is set him up to take another touch. And we move it on. He has to take another touch. And the ball is then way too close to his body for him to shoot instead of being able to roll it and play it and touch, shoot. Something that Harry Kane absolutely perfected. And then by the time that he actually gets his shot away, it's too late. There's more Fulham defenders. He's going away from goal as well, which is another issue. And that affects it because he's now scrambling for space and having taken even more touches to try and create the space for himself. But whilst he's doing that, as I say, he's moving away from goal, meaning he now has to really wrap his foot around it and the shot doesn't get any purchase on it at all. If he goes touch, shoot, you can just bend it into that corner, pass it into that corner. That is something Harry Kane has absolutely perfected. And there's no reason why Kai Havertz can't do the exact same with the awareness that we see in his overall game. Shot 65, please. Now, this was Kai Havertz's first shot against Tottenham in the North London derby. And the parallels here are very interesting. Once again, Odegaard is in possession. Kai Havertz's positioning here is fine. It's good. It's towing the line. It's interesting. What's going on here? Is he going to do a little sneaky weaky down this side? Is he going to peel off to the back post? I don't know. I do know. And what's really nice about Havertz is that he's in a position here where he's in front of one centre-back, but he's also left himself a bit of a gap between him and that next centre-back. So he could drive into this area here, but he's making life difficult. And he actually has a little scan, and then you don't really know if he's going to make that driving run or if he's going to peel off to the back post. And so as it progresses, with Odegaard himself progressing into the box, what we see is that he's created a lovely bit of space for himself, and he's actually dragged that back line along with Odegaard's movement as deep as could be, really. But again, and you know I'm going to say it, he's got his back to goal as he receives the ball. And as we see, as he does receive that ball, if he wanted to shoot, he should have been in a preemptive side-on position. That would only mean that he needs to take one touch to set up the shot and then take another touch to take said shot. However, this time he has Thomas Partey on the edge of the box, so he also should really actually just be looking to lay it off because he's got his body position wrong. But instead, he takes 2 extra touches and by this point is surrounded by Tottenham players when it comes to taking his shot. But he still gets a shot away. It's just not the perfect scenario. And it's these milliseconds that matter, especially in the penalty box. And actually, after doing so well to get away from him, it's actually Dragusin who blocks the shot, mainly because Havertz's initial body shape allowed Tottenham to be able to regroup and get closer. And that's why when people sort of go after this idea that Havertz is maybe not a natural striker, these 2 shots are evidence of that, I would say. Now on to big chances, and that's why the spotlight recently has been put on Kai Havertz, because he's not been scoring these big chances. Kai Havertz has actually racked up a total of 8.9 XG this season. However, he's only scored 8 goals. Doesn't sound too bad. It means he's slightly, obviously, underperforming his XG. And the shots that really make a difference here are the ones close to goal. And that's also known as what we in the biz call sitters. So has he really been missing sitters? Well, I bring to the court shot 74. So Arsenal are on the counter-attack here, and Havertz is already doing something very positive. There's so many positive things from Havertz, actually, when you really watch him. He's indicating early that he's ahead of the Wolves centre-backs and that he wants the ball played in early. And if you can get ahead of the centre-backs and arrive into the box before they do, of course, you increase your chances of a goal massively, as long as you stay onside, of course. And it's that proactive movement from Havertz that sees him arrive in the box first. I also like how Havertz ensured that he stayed central and increased his chances of a higher XG shot as much as possible by staying in that middle zone. It shows that he can go into either corner if he so wishes. Trossard crosses the ball at height, which means the chance does increase in difficulty due to Havertz now needing to head the ball, but in my opinion, he does well to get on the end of it initially. But then we talk about the direction of the header. As you can see, Jose Sarr is taking up one side of the goal effectively. So anything to the goalkeeper's left, or of course Kai Havertz's right, is most likely going to lead to a goal. What Havertz does well, though, sorry, I just hit BB. What Havertz does well, though, is that he gets a lot of power on it and he keeps the header down. I think it's harsh to crucify him for missing this one, as he pretty much did all that he could. A glancing header across goal like that would have been very difficult and increased the chance of the shot being off target altogether. And this is where maybe confidence comes into it, or that tag of not being natural. Does a natural finisher not have that lower level of confidence and therefore doesn't go for the safe, just head it down and get some contact on it? Are they actually really clear and going, let's put it in the most difficult corner? Let's stick with headers, and Arsenal fans, you probably remember this one. Shot 63. This header, I can't really defend. This chance was worth an XG of 0.53, meaning more than half of these types of chances are scored usually. It starts here with Trossard out wide. Havertz is here looking to make a run into this dangerous front 6-yard area, corner area. Okay, and he's working his way towards the danger area, moving his way. It's nice. I like it. It's working. And if you look really, really closely, you can see me here. I was actually in the crowd that day. But the cross takes a strange deflection, and therefore the ball's now up in the air, and Havertz has to judge that. It's a strange deflection. The ball is now really high up and looping, giving Havertz more time than he first anticipated. And here you can see that he starts to jump for the ball. And this is where it goes awry, because the decision to jump that early is what really harms Havertz here, because the ball is travelling at a weird trajectory. It's coming from the heavens, and it leads to Havertz jumping just that little bit too early, and he actually makes contact with the ball whilst he's already on the way down, meaning no purchase at all on the ball. It also leads to him having to try and sort of guide the ball that simply didn't need to require power initially, and now it does. If Havertz didn't jump and instead planted his feet to head it, likelihood is that it would have resulted in a goal, but it didn't, and it looked pretty bad at the time. And these unconventional chances will occur. That's often how big chances occur in 2025 when teams are so put together. It has to be a deflection or a moment of brilliance or a mistake. And so you've got to be able to take charge in those moments and put those away. But instead, it goes painfully wide. This example falls into a different category to both the previous ones, as this one is a shot taken with his left foot. Initially, Havertz does really, really well to trap a long ball and to, importantly, manoeuvre his body in between Van Hecke and the ball. And he shows really great strength and athleticism to not only get away from Van Hecke, but also to hold him off the whole way through and into the box. But when it's time to slow down, get his head up and think about the shot whilst holding someone off, which I appreciate is very difficult, I think this is where he really struggles. Unlike the shot against Brighton that we showed you earlier, Havertz now has to think. He has to decide what the best shot option would be for him to score. You can also see that the goalkeeper, Verbruggen, has actually done pretty well here. He hasn't fully committed to coming off his line either, meaning going around him is now not possible. He's going to have to make the decision, Havertz, because the goalkeeper's not going to make it for him. This is where I think people want to give Havertz the benefit of the doubt, the belief that he can go and be the striker for Arsenal. I think a lot of Arsenal fans are generally quite happy. They think he's doing his best. But it really is fine margins here. But here's what I think he did wrong. Firstly, he slowed down just a second too early, which closed off a lot of the angles for him. The ball is central to him once again, which makes life a little bit more difficult when you're trying to make that shot, meaning that no real power can be generated. And because of this, it means a few things. He can't get any lift on the ball. He can't get any power behind it, really. And lastly, he opts for a corner that was pretty covered due to Verbruggen not over-committing. So arguably good goalkeeping in all of this. And also arguably, I think if he goes to the near post, would have been a better shot selection due to the body shape of Havertz when he struck the ball. But it's one where, like, am I going to take that chance? No, of course I'm not. That's why I'm here talking to you. And it's so much easier to talk about it from here than being there when you've got Van Hecke up against you. You've got a goalkeeper who's making you think. But in terms of those reps of a striker where I think Shearer might have said this, or actually Paul Machin said this to me about a striker needs to have a flow chart, and he needs to be able to get through that flow chart really, really quickly to make his decision. I think if he had that flow chart just to go to straight away, even though he's holding someone off, and even though he doesn't really know which place to go to, instinctively, I remember talking to Frank Lampard about this. There's things you do where you're not thinking about it. And you don't even look like you're thinking about it. People think you're fluking stuff, but you're not. It's pure instinct because you've been there before. You like that little name drop there? Smash the like button if you enjoyed that one. What's the truth here, guys? Talk to me. Because in these clips, Havertz does a lot of stuff correctly, such as his movement, holding up the ball, and finding space. But when it comes to generating the perfect shot, he does seem to struggle. Can he iron these things out with the correct coaching or reps? Or maybe just that added bit of confidence?